Hey, what's up everybody? So I get a lot of friend requests on what I'm doing to the van, why I'm doing it, and what's going on with it. So I thought I'd make a little video and kind of share all that. We just got back. We went surfing this morning and the waves were firing. I get a little bit of content, but this GoPro is new and it's a little bit heavier than my last one, so I got to get used to carrying it in the water. So I only caught one wave and then went and threw it in my bag, but no big deal. But I like this one. This one's cool. There's a story behind how I lost my last one, but that's for another day. So here's the van. Right here I got all my stickers that I like to collect. It's part of the Gravy Navy. And as you can see, I got a lot of my surf gear in here because like I said, we were out here this morning. But behind all this stuff, you can see that I'm putting insulation. And I'm trying to insulate the entire inside. This is some of the stuff that I carry with me when I go surfing. But we got the boards back here and they're recessed and bolted in. And that's just kind of like a demo of how I'm going to be framing it. And today we have a special project. Actually going to be cutting a hole in my van. We have some insulation up there. We have the seats mounted. They're right here. I had to take them out. And we have some more insulation over here. And I made a little shelf that I'm just kind of holding my stuff. And then we have the template for the van. I always keep a little potty with me. It's for number one only, and then number 2. And over here, for now, is where I'm keeping my little shower station. I filled it up with hot water before I go surfing, and then take a nice little shower when I get out. And the most recent add is this little step that we put on here, which is kind of cool. It's got a little light on it, and I plan on adding a little grip tape to this, so that way it's a little bit easier. And we also, it's a little shaky, so I gotta figure something out with that, and maybe put in like a wedge or something so it's not as shaky. Under here you can see I have some insulation. We have the OSB down and everything's been screwed down, so we have the floor ready to go. And right here is where we're going to be putting the window. So I'm probably going to set this thing up on a stand and do a time lapse, and we'll just kind of go from there. So this is going to be a 2-for-1. I'm going to knock this project out real quick before I go ahead and hit the window. But since I'm up and down, in and out of the van, and I use this step a lot, it's a little bit slippery. So what we're going to go ahead and do is add some of this anti-slip tape that we've also installed on our ladder rack. And I installed this back in the winter time, and it's been holding up pretty good through the weather. I kind of like it, and it's nice for when you're climbing up the ladder in the rain and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and put some of that onto there and see how this works out, and then we'll continue on our window project. We now have grip tape onto our step, so now I have a nice sturdy surface to step on. Super easy, super simple to install. Just use a Sharpie and a pair of scissors to cut it into place, and that's it. Now moving on to the window. Okay, so apparently there's like a ton of steps. I watched a few videos on YouTube, and I'm going to try and cover some of the things that some of the people that I watched didn't talk about. And one of the first things we did, so that way the tape would stick with no problem, is we actually cleaned the side of the van. We wiped it down and got it real good. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you the packaging that the window comes in and what we need to do to get it ready. So I ordered this window from C.W. Lawrence. I basically did some research online and found that this was one of the better windows to be putting in the side of a van. A lot of people seem to like them. There's a lot of good reviews. So when you get this window, it's gonna come in a box. You're gonna get the window. It's gonna be securely packaged with all this bubble wrap and the edges and everything. We cut the front of the box off. We are using that as a template. And you're gonna get the window. You're gonna get the window bracket. And as you can see right there is a bag of screws that you're also gonna get with the window to secure the bracket to the window once you get it installed. So the window comes all wrapped up in this box, and we already went ahead and took out the frame on the back side. There's a frame back here. We took off the frame. I had to wrap it up last night so that way I could use the fan this morning. It was raining yesterday, so this is day 2 on this project. We took the frame and we used it to make this template. And I have the template in there, and we also have this template right here. And what I'm going to be doing is taking this template, drilling a hole there and a hole there, and maybe even cutting some of the edges, pre-cutting some of the edges, so that way I can line this up on the outside, or maybe take this template and line it up on the outside so I can make my markings on the outside of the door. So let's see how that goes. So something that some people talked about but not too much was the tools that you're going to need for this project. So we have a grinder, a sawzall, a jigsaw, a drill, measuring tape, some painter's tape right there, some drill bits, and the blades that we're going to need for these tools, as well as some ladders. Alright, as you can see, we took a drill, we popped the 2 holes in the van door. When you're doing this, also be careful. These metal shavings fly out. They're pretty hot. They're going to get on you, so make sure you have a way of protecting your eyes and your skin, and just be careful. So now we're going to pull this down and move it to the outside and see how it goes. Something I'm finding a little bit easier, since this was the side of the box that I used to cut out the initial frame for the door. This is the cardboard cutout from the frame. So I've already fitted this to the window, and it fits quite well. Nice and snug, no extra room. It's actually kind of perfect. So what I'm going to do is now, since I have this in place from the inside with the 2 holes that I drilled, I'm going to go ahead and place this up here. Get it in nice and snug. And I'm going to start taping down all the sides and use that as my template with my marker and go ahead and make my marking. Also, I might leave it in place too, because something that one of the other van builders that I saw doing this talked about was scratching the outside of the door with the bottom plate of the Sawzall. So I'm also going to be putting tape on here, And I might actually leave this in place to make my cut, so that way when the Sawzall is running along the door, it'll be running along the cardboard and not the actual paint and messing up the paint. So that's some of the things I plan on doing. So as you can see, we're all set. Add a couple more sheets of tape to secure this from moving, but we're nice and secure all the way around where our window's gonna be. These aren't too flimsy, they're actually nice and secure because I'm gonna be pressing down on this all the way around. We got our line marked that we're going to be following. We have our jigsaw taped on the bottom, and as you can see, this didn't want to fit onto the door properly, so I actually had to cut a few pieces off there, a piece off of here, and I also had to cut some of the pieces down here to fit because of the grooves of the van. It didn't want to tape securely. So now we're gonna have at it and cut a hole in our van. Let's see how this works out. Okay, so the good news is the holes in the van, I followed the lines the best I could, and I think it came out okay. We took all the burrs off all the edges, so now the next step is I'm going to go ahead and get some Rust-Oleum. We're going to go ahead and cover all the edges with Rust-Oleum, and I'm probably going to take the file and clean this little bit right here up, or maybe even the angle grinder, we'll see. And then once we're done with the Rust-Oleum, We're gonna let that dry for a little bit. Once that's dry, the window will go in and we'll secure it and we'll be done. Yay. Also, if you notice in the time lapse, you gotta be safe out here. There's a lot of metal shavings that were coming down on me. So I went and got my safety glasses, and we did it with safety glasses on. So remember to be safe, okay? So we had a few snafus, but long story short, we got this painted really well. Now we're just waiting for it to dry. And we got the edges cleaned up real nice. So it didn't exactly want to fit up here, so we had to cut a little extra out. And now we're gonna have a good fit on the window. So I just gotta wait for that to dry, and then once we're done, we're good. Also, your cut doesn't need to be exact, because you have about a good 3/4 of an inch buffer here that's going to gap the window, so it doesn't have to be like to the millimeter on. Okay, just so you know. But yeah, that's where we're at. We'll be back soon to install the window, secure it, and go from there. So even though we have the Rust-Oleum on there, I went a little overboard, and there was a little bit of a gap right in here. You can't really see it now, but there is a little bit of a gap, and you can see as I press down. So what I did was I took this here, I'll show you. A little bit of a gap right there. So what I did was I took this butyl tape, which is basically like putty, and I covered the entire frame, so that way that gap isn't going to be getting moisture leaked into it. And it'll probably help with the waterproofing. So I went ahead and went around, and it's not gonna, because I put it on one side and then smeared it around basically the other onto the inside, you're not even gonna see it with the bracket that's gonna go onto the inside, so it'll disappear completely. And yeah, we'll put another little piece right there because I have a little bit of a hole. But as soon as we're done with this, we get it all sealed up. The window's going to be going in, so stand by. Oh, we got the window in, yay! And it fit almost perfect. A little bit of a gap here on this edge, but I don't mind because it's going to be slamming shut anyway. So I think for the most part, it looks pretty good. It's nice and snug in there. The butyl was a great idea. It actually helped secure it a little bit. So now that the window's in there nice and snug, we're going to go ahead and fit the gasket on. And once we put the gasket on, got my little grip tape step. Once we put the gasket on, we'll be ready to go. All right, so let me set you up right over here, and we'll do a little time lapse. Oh, and this is cool. This is that little feature where you can, I took the screen out, but you can have a little window. There you go. Now, as you can see, the butyl around the edge, and that should disappear once I Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. That's a wrap. We started with this top screw up here. Let me back up. So we started with this top screw up here, and then we moved along and did 2 screws, then 2 screws, and then 1 screw, 1 screw, 1 screw, 1 screw. Worked our way all the way around. We got a pretty snug fit. There was a little snafu here in the corner, but I think that might be maybe, I don't know. It's just a tough area because it's on a corner. As you can see, the butyl tape worked out great. It's nice and snug against the butyl tape. There's a couple of sticky spots here, but that's no big deal. I can clean this up. This is just cosmetic, but we got a nice seal with the window bracket, and our window works pretty well. We can open it up, get some nice fresh air coming through here, which will be nice. And now when we're going down the road and I have the kids with me, they'll have a nice window to look out, kind of like on the school bus. And if they want a little air, they can open it up. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed my video. And it was fun to make. Never really made a DIY video before. Here's the finished product.